I was recently invited by my local quilt guild to share about my quilting journey, which goes back, but I really restarted it back in around 2023. So I decided that with that trunk show that I would go ahead and turn on a camera so that I could share it with you. And then before we get started, if you're wondering what's behind me, I'm really excited about this project. It's called Fabrics of Appalachia, and it's a quilt-along being hosted by Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And each week, from every Friday from July 31st until September 18th, they are releasing a new block of the week. And they are posting it on both Facebook and on their website, or well, the Facebook links to their website with those quilt patterns. And then with that, they share some pieces of history that go along with those quilt blocks. So I'm really having a lot of fun with that one. And I've intentionally chosen fabrics that are going to give a little bit more of that vintage historical vibe than I would with a different type of quilt. So with that, let's go move on to the trunk show. Hello everybody, and for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Kate Dillon and I live here in Rutherford. And I was really excited that Jackie invited me to share just kind of what has my quilting journey been like. And it's been a little bit of stops and starts. I first got a sewing machine. I got my mom's old sewing machine in like the mid 2000s and kind of messed with it a little bit, but didn't make my first quilt till like the early 2010s. And I made like 5 back then, and they were all gifts. And then the only one that I actually had for myself was this one. So this was done on like an old 70s Singer, you know, with just some old jeans. And I love pillow ticking. It reminds me that I've repaired this so many times. I actually never saw my grandma sew, even though she made patchwork quilts. And my mom had a sewing machine that I never saw taken out of the closet or the box. So I did not grow up around sewing. And when I got I was like, hey mom, are you gonna use that sewing machine? And she's like, no. I didn't even know how to thread it. So I had a friend show me how to thread it. But my quilting journey really happened. So that was the early 2010s. And then I moved here, started a business. And I still had some fabrics I'd moved, and the one thing I had left was this like 10-inch squares. It's like a layer cake of these beautiful batiks. And I really hadn't done anything, and I saw a YouTube video for a disappearing 9-patch. And it was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And so then I made my first disappearing 9-patch quilt, and this would be in December of 2022 going into 2023. So that's really what launched my quilting journey. And I have been a habitual crafter like my whole life. I never really know how long like this it's gonna go. Like I'll go on a streak and then I might go on to something else. But I've stuck with quilting for 3.5 years. So that's the longest I've ever stuck with anything. Oh, I'm here. It's all there. Oh yeah, I have a kind of a thing where either, I don't really love just putting 2 pieces of fabric together. So if either use a 108 or if I don't, I try to make my piecing intentional. So I do it on purpose. I might do it with an extra block or something so that it's not just 2 pieces of fabric put together. Now this is a fun little learning experience. So I got started with the quilting and then so I did the disappearing 9-patch. I did a couple of those, and then I started doing one of these mystery samplers. Now, all around this time too is when Hobby Lobby opened in town, and they had all these like really low cost like clearance fabrics for super cheap because I had no stash, you know. So I was like brand new at this, and so anyway, that would be the reason why I bought 5 yards of flamingo fabric. So it is. Now no, I used it all up at this point. So what's fun about this was one of those mystery blocks of the month, and you could make a 12-inch and a 6-inch. And during this period of time, this is not my favorite quilt, but it is a story because I was using my 1970s Singer, and then a game changer for me was when I bought my Juki sewing machine, and the accuracy that I could get was absolutely incredible. So if I was to really, I don't know which block is which, but I don't care if points are cut off or anything. I mean, this was just all part of the journey. Now, also during that time, I had seen the Moda had this Letters to Santa quilt. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but this Letters to Santa. And the idea was different words that had to do with Christmas, and they were using a particular alphabet. So I'm actually going to flip around this quilt. And so I made the alphabet, and then I didn't really like it. So, but then also, what am I going to do with it? So it just went into the back of this quilt. This quilt got finished way later on. But so I had done that alphabet because I wanted to do the Letters to Santa quilt. And so instead, this is when I got into starting really design. So I decided to design my own alphabet. And that's what I did here, which is a wall hanging. So I started with that, and I designed my own alphabet. And then that went into my Letters to Santa quilt here. So I picked my own words, used my own, and this was the first time, oh, I still have the covering of my label there. And so this is where I designed it. There were several of these, like I designed the Nutcracker. First time I did really foundation paper piecing, because some of the letters are done with traditional piecing, and some of them are foundation paper piecing. I designed the train. Then I did some of that kind of, what is it, where you do the, string quilting kind of thing with the little trees. So this was fun. And then this one was in our quilt show. So this is all just kind of part of the journey. Now, the other things I learned was I didn't know what a honey bun was. I just saw it online, and I was like, oh, okay, honey bun, that sounds fun, kind of like a jelly roll. I had no idea it was 1.5-inch strips. And so when I got it, I was like, what in the world am I going to do with this? So I decided to make a combination of, I guess I did some of these strips, almost like a, kind of like the strip, you know, we're talking about the stripology ruler, or there's the the triangle things that I can't think of what they're called. But then, so it's a combination of like the little half log cabins, and I tried to use up all the fabric, because also these aren't really my colors, but I just kind of wanted it. And then we talked about like doing something interesting on the back. So then I just kind of took the rest of them and did something interesting on the back. So this one's called Seashore Drive. So that would be, okay, I have this fabric, and what am I going to do with it? And that's how that went. And then sometimes I can be inspired by fabric, and here was one of those. So this was a Benartex collection, and this one is kind of like all camping themed. And so I wanted to do something interesting, and so what I did was, I didn't really follow a pattern. I made the bear paw blocks. So this one's called Bear Tracks. It's like there's two bears that are walking side by side. And then I actually designed all of this in electric quilt for the sizes of the different rectangles and things like that. So, that was fun. And then this one just has a flannel on the back. Nothing too interesting on that one. So this one was an interesting story, I would say, is because this was in, when they do the shop hop, when it was like, I guess it was maybe August and September, or September and October in 2023. And during that time, like right before then, my boyfriend and I had broken up after 10 years of being together. So I was like, what am I going to do? And so I was visiting all these quilt shops. So during that year, if you visited a quilt shop, then each quilt shop had a different pattern that they gave you. And so on that one, I visited 31 shops, and yeah, it really, yeah, it was. And so I traveled, South Carolina, and just really around these western areas. And so then this is the quilt that I ended up putting together. These are the fabrics that were part of that shop hop collection. And then yeah, these are I completed a couple of the regions, is what these are. So since I completed a couple of the regions, then I put those onto the back. Yeah, that's what that is. And then I try to be creative, and so I don't know, I hope you guys find this interesting. It's all part of the journey here. So let's see, in this one, okay, actually that's the back. I know sometimes you can't tell. So I was gonna make this falling leaves quilt, or this leaves quilt here. And so I made these leaves, And then I had them sashed with this like gold and yellow, goldish yellow sashing, and it was all up on the design wall. In fact, I think I even had it together, and I was like, oh my God, that's gross, and I hate it. So I took it down, got out my seam ripper, and then I started getting creative. And that's when I created the centerpiece, and I had all these other fabrics. And I kind of like to use up a collection if I can. And then I guess then I really wasn't done because I still had lots of fabric. So then just like the back might as well just be its own quilt. So that's what I do when I find out that I don't like something. I just find a way. Now, speaking of the shop hop, I went to 31 shops and I bought something at every single shop. And yeah, so I still have fabric. Between that and QuiltCon 2024, yeah, I don't buy fabric anymore. This actually here is one of my favorite quilts that I've actually ever designed. And this one, I call it French Quarter because the fabric is from French Quarter. And it was a combination. I had 2 charm packs and 1 jelly roll. That's what I had bought. And then I was inspired by a Jen Kingwell design that was, but really when it comes down to it, it's basically square and a square. But what I did with those jelly roll strips is I sewed them all together, like side by side by side, and I split them into the light, mediums, and darks. And so that's all this is that each of these squares in the center could be a different, they could be where it's the strips, or it could be, I tried to make those medium. And anyway, this one is one of those comfy go-to. This is my napping quilt. I like this. Well, we talked about foundation paper piecing earlier, and then I went wild because I went to QuiltCon 2024 and I got this. And so if you guys saw this in the quilt show, this one in the Christmas quilt, were both in the quilt show. But yeah, this was quite, I don't know that I would do this again, but there we go. I don't know if I would do it again, but there we Thank you so much for helping me. I appreciate it. So there we go. The judges said my quilting was distracting, but I don't know. I kind of like it. Did the variegated thread. But so anyway, that was quite the foundation paper piecing project. And I don't know. I think I like it. I like it. But
Did you quilt it yourself?
I did. Yeah. I guess all of these I've quilted myself. I do send quilts with Jackie, but all of the ones we've seen here today, I quilted myself. Talking about being inspired or changing things, this one was kind of fun. And I don't know if it has an up, but I saw this cute little cat pattern. You can see there's a little cat here. And especially being single, I didn't want to be like the crazy cat lady that had this whole quilt with cats on it. So I just decided to turn them. So then I call it Kitty Twister. So basically making stars out of the little cats. And I just, here again was one of those fabrics that I absolutely loved. I think I had 3 or 4 charm packs, and so it was all 5-inch squares that I had. And I loved it. I feel like it was super beautiful, this Japanese kind of a fabric. And the back is a 108, it's boring. Yeah. And then now we get into talking about curves. We get into curved piecing. And I saw them do this on YouTube. And that's how I learned how to quilt, is I watch a lot of YouTube. And so these are the Drunkard's Path templates from Missouri Star Quilt Company. And they work great. And so these last two are going to be exactly the same pattern. Well, it's not really a pattern. I made it. I didn't see it anywhere. I mean, other people have probably done it, but if they did, I don't know about it. So I call this one Tropical Ripples. And all it is that I use that there's like in the color part, there's actually a square in here, but then I use both the positive and the negative from the Drunkard's Path template, and then the white doesn't get an extra square. So this is my one with the small Drunkard's Path template, and then I brought this one last week, and this is my one with the large. So this is exactly the same except for what's with the large Drunkard's Path template instead of the small one. So this is my car quilt. Yes. And then Oh, sure. Yeah, because this one's not interesting, but this one is. So then I took whatever remnants I had of those and just kind of did whatever I wanted to do with them to make it interesting. Because there again, I didn't have want to make it intentional when I do backs. And then my latest one that is actually going home with Jackie today. I guess what I was really showing here, this isn't the ones that I followed patterns on. These are ones where I kind of was inspired or kind of did my own thing. As it turns out, I counted them up. I've made like 25. I think this is number 25 in this 3.5 years that I've been actually actively quilting. So it is what it is. This one here, I did follow a pattern. This one's for my brother. Apparently his favorite color is green, which I just learned about. And he's actually my business partner. So it's really cool. I see him all the time. And he recently got a John Deere tractor. So I'm going to have Jackie will be quilting this in a tractor, like there'll be tractors in the pattern. So this one's called Persnickety. This pattern is by Vanessa Gertsen. And so anyway, that's the latest one that is not complete, but I'll probably give it to my brother. I'll probably see Jackie. Oh, the backing, this one. So here again, because I just won't. I won't do a boring back unless it's boring. I mean, if it's just a 108, that's fine. But I decided to do a denim because it's for my brother. And then it's going to be this double green vertical. And just to make it so that'll be something interesting. And with that, then I can make it a lot wider. With just that little add-on. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It has been quite a journey and it's been a lot of fun along the way. But if you like this video, I hope you'll hit that like button and hit that subscribe. I actually have some more videos planned, really going a little bit more into entrepreneurship and business, but I do love to share my quilting journey along the way. So thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in another video.